Hello, this is Unit 5, Formative 2, Day 3, the quadratic formula. This is a formula to solve quadratics when we can't factor or when we don't want to factor. So this is a time when you're going to have 2 or 3 terms with variables, unlike the square root method. So first of all, the quadratic formula, everything always has to be set up in your AX plus bx plus c equals 0. So it has to be equal to 0, and you need to make sure everything's in order. Alright, now the a that's in front of your x squared term gets substituted in for these two a's. Your b is going to get substituted in for the b's, and then your c gets substituted in for the c's. Okay? So on this video, really the main thing I want you to do is know how to substitute the numbers into the formula. I will show you in class how to do this on your calculator. Okay? So the main thing again is making sure our equation's in order today and substituting the problems into the formula. Alright, so again we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So this is the form. Our equation's in that form. Okay, we have our x squared plus our x and then our number. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and write a equals, so what's in front of the x squared term is a 1. B equals, b is in front of the x term, that's a negative 6. And c is the number without the variable, that is a negative 10. So always do that. Tell me what a, b, and c equal first. Okay. Now we're going to plug them into our equation. So we have x equals, okay, now the formula again is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now you don't have to memorize this, but you probably will. Okay. So our first thing here is our negative b. So that means we've got to do the opposite of b, and b is negative 6. So the opposite of b, negative 6, is 6. Okay. Next thing we have is our plus or minus, and then we have a square root. We always make a big square root. There's a lot in there. All right, b squared. So we're going to take negative 6 squared, and we get 36. Okay. Now know that this number here, when you square a negative number or a positive number, you're always going to go positive. So you will never have a negative here. Okay. All right, so minus 4, a is 1, and c is negative 10. Okay, and that's all over 2 times a. And 2 times a is 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay. So that's the main thing I want you to do today. I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Okay, just some of you guys will pick it up. Okay, so I'm going to bring down the 6 plus or minus the square root. So this is 36. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 10 is a positive 40 all over 2. Okay. So this is 6 plus or minus 76 over 2. So the number under the square root is called a discriminant. Okay, that tells us a lot about our answer. Okay, and we'll go over that on the next slide. Okay, so now to keep going, I'm out of room. All right, so the square root of 76 is 8.7. So I'm going to come over here. So we have 6 plus or minus 8.7 divided by 2. Okay, and now you notice we have a plus and minus, so these are where my two problems come in. I have 6 plus 8.7 divided by 2, and then I have a 6 minus 8.7 divided by 2. So I'm going to go ahead and do those. And I'm going to get a 3.5 and a negative 1.4. So those are my two answers. Okay, again, we're going to do a lot of that on the calculator, so make sure you know how to substitute in. All right, next. All right, so we talked about the discriminant. The discriminant is what under the radical sign. So in our equation, this right here is what's under the square root sign. Okay, so the discriminant is what's under the square root sign. Okay, so this right here, when we figure this out, if it's positive, it tells us we're going to have two answers. If it's a 0, we're going to have a 1 solution problem. And then if it's negative, we're going to have a no solution. Because we cannot take the square root of a negative number. Okay. Oops. Okay. Alright, so let's look at another problem. Alright, so the next one. So A equals, oops, not a very good color. So A equals 3, B equals -5, and C equals -9. So my formula again, x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so now I'm going to plug everything in. So we have x equals, now we have a -b, so the opposite of -5 is a +5, plus or minus the square root. Now b squared is -5 squared, which is a +25. Remember, that will never be a negative there. Minus 4 times 3 times c, which is -9. Okay, all over 2a, which is 2 times 3, and that is a 6. Okay, all right, so again, make sure you know how to plug that in. I'm going to go ahead and finish this. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and figure out what the discriminant is, and the discriminant, remember, is under the square root sign. And that is 133 all over 6. Okay, so now, again, so this tells us we have a positive number here. Okay, so this tells us that we are going to have 2 solutions. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. So x equals 5 plus or minus, now the square root of 133 is 11.5 divided by 6. Okay. Now my 2 answers, I have a little more room, so I'll show you what I'm actually going to do. The first one is 5 plus 11.5 divided by 6. And then the second one's going to be 5 minus 11.5 divided by 6. And this one is 2.75. And this one is -1.08. Okay, and those are my 2 solutions. Let's do one. This one's not solved for 0, so I need to make sure I'm going to move this over to the other side. So I have -2x squared minus 18x plus 11 equals 0. Make sure it's in order. Okay. A equals -2, B equals -18, and C equals 11. Okay, so again, I'll write my formula up here. All over 2a. Okay, so we have x equals -b, so the opposite of -18 is positive. 18 plus or minus, we have a square root of b squared, which is 324. Remember, that's always positive. Minus 4 times a times c all over 2a, which is 2 times -2, which is -4. Alright, let's go ahead and figure out what our discriminant is. So we have 18 plus or minus the square root. Go ahead and figure out what's under the square root. Okay, and that's 424 divided by -4. Okay, so this is positive here. So we have 2 solutions. 2 solutions. Right. So we have 18 plus or minus, now the square root of 424 is 20.6 divided by -4. Okay, and now I have my 2 answers. So I have 18 plus or minus, oops, sorry. I'm going to do plus first. 20.6 divided by -4. And then I have 18 minus 20.6 divided by -4. Okay, the top one, 18 plus 20.6 divided by -4 is -9.65. And 18 minus 20.6 divided by -4 is 0.65. So those are my 2 answers. Okay. All right, that's the quadratic formula, and I'll see you guys in class.